Welcome to the Workies Podcast, the ultimate podcast dedicated to navigating the dynamic landscape of the home service industry. Delve into the world of business strategies, innovation, and growth as we bring you insightful discussions on the latest trends, success stories, and expert advice. I am excited to introduce Thomas Scott, the CEO and founder of Home Run Franchises, a veteran in the franchising realm for over 2 decades, starting as a multi-unit franchisee. Thomas transitioned into a franchisor, catapulting show homes, staging to 100 locations in the early 2000s. Renowned in the franchising sphere, Thomas embodies a fervent dedication to industry innovation and education. He's not only a distinguished franchise operator, but also a successful franchisor of 9 distinct brands, including show homes, home services, and a lighting squad. With an additional background in marketing and franchise operations, Thomas is passionate about imparting knowledge on growing profitable franchise systems with a focus on franchisee success and fostering robust franchise relationships. Well, thank you so much for hopping on here, Thomas. Appreciate your time. Before we go into, your extensive experience in franchising, could you provide us some insight into your background?
Sure. I started out my career as a journalist of all things, and then got into entrepreneurship and franchising. A lot of people my age, I'm in my 50s, didn't decide to be in franchising. They just kind of ended up in the industry. And today, the opposite is true. People choose to be in franchising. Franchise opportunities generally give people a really great path to business ownership and entrepreneurship. And I'm a big fan of entrepreneurship in general. I think owning family businesses, husband and wife businesses, working with your kids. I'm already a family run business. I've got 5 or 6 family members working in our company. I really believe that, if you have the guts to really do a business, you can accomplish great things versus working for somebody. And I'm probably, like a lot of entrepreneurs, a really bad boy. I would make an awful boy for somebody. Because I have to know what I want to do, and I like doing business, and it's fun. Business should be fun. I think as opposed to working in an office, cubicle farm for 40 hours a week and signing your life away, in a business, especially if you do something you enjoy, you can do great things. And if you hit a home run, you really win, versus just, abdicating your future to somebody else. So I'm a big fan of that. I really try to create enthusiasm with Isufor and as a franchising is a way to get into entrepreneurship. And it's paid off for me and paid off for a lot of people.
Yeah. When did you first realize that you wanted to go down this path?
Well, I'm from a big Lebanese family and everybody owns businesses. And so I grew up around business ownership and entrepreneurship. My father was a college professor who was the one non-entrepreneur in our class, so like our group. So I always had that desire. I left the newspaper industry when it started in the early 90s, when it started to go down, and really pushed towards like owning a business. And I didn't really know what I was doing. Like a lot of people, I started a business from scratch. It was a virtual tour and real estate photography business. And that led to home staging and the show homes business that I started kind of later on. Like it kind of grew from that point. But, even on not knowing what a business, like how to run a business in my first one, like as I got into franchising, I realized, wow, there's just so many better ways to run businesses than to try and do it yourself. I mean, we think today in Up Closets and Dryer Vent Superheroes, our 2 primary brands, just the level of sophistication we have using a system like Workies and an FSM like Workies, it allows us to go to market and be so much more polished and organized than a startup business would be. And we just slay our competition with systems like that. And so I think in a franchise system, it's just a faster track. I think you can get into business. If it's a business you like and you're okay staying in the boundaries that you have to stay in, it can be a real win for everybody. So we've enjoyed growing these brands.
Amazing. And, I should start using that terminology. I like how you said slay, like slaying the business.
Well, people like, I'm a big fan of recruiting Generation Z, like 26, 27 and younger owners. And young owners make up maybe 20 or 30% of my population of owners, but they make up 60% of my top performers. Like they're much more coachable. So I tell people I identify as a Gen Z, even though I'm 54, like I can use the slang inappropriately at the wrong times, but I think it's kind of fun. That generation is, if you're an entrepreneur today and you're a young person and you're thinking about going to college or you're just out of college, this is a really incredible time to become an entrepreneur in just about any field. Like the technology, at Show Homes 20 years ago, we built our own FSM. It was like a $3 or $4 million investment, and it was awful. It never worked. It was expensive. We have to have those systems to do things. It was an Oracle database system. And today, just off the shelf, that's what you can do with off the shelf technology to create a business and we're very big into niche businesses. Our businesses are very niche. The nature of service businesses, all of our businesses are home service related, have really evolved. Like the business today, a modern service business is a very different thing than it was 10 or 15 years ago. And it's almost like the blue collar trades or the new white collar business opportunities. It's interesting to see how much like enthusiasm there is for running, what they used to call boring businesses, dryer vent cleaning, electrical plumbing, even closets, home improvement stuff that, was a handyman in a truck or somebody driving what we call a murder van, the white vans with the ladders on the top and the ransom letters on the side that say free candy inside. Like it's just, you can come to market and just be very organized, professional and polished and exceed customer expectations and do an amazing job today. And franchising offers an opportunity for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you work, it sounds like I know you identify a little bit as a Gen Zer, right?
Yeah. I have all ages. I just, if I had a choice, if I teach somebody who's 23 how to run and scale a business, they don't have a lot of living expenses. They have a ton of energy. Like when you're that age, that's when you can afford to fail and take risk and do crazy stuff. Because I'll be honest, when you're in your 50s, like me, you don't remember your 20s. Like it doesn't matter. You might as well go for it and try to run a business. But if you succeed at learning how to run a business and you can scrape together enough capital and you can do the work and you can execute well, by the time you're 30 or 40, you're like extremely successful. You can run businesses the rest of your life and be independent. And that's a beautiful thing to give to somebody. So we're real passionate about coaching people and training people how to do that. It isn't so much that we just want to teach you how to clean dryer vents and install closets. It's like this is a step towards a whole life of
I definitely relate to that too. And I'm 24 myself.
Yeah.
So being in this industry, there's so much untapped knowledge and you're tapped into the knowledge. So passing that on to people, I bet feels amazing to watch them be able to grow them.
You're at 24, your views of entrepreneurship are radically different than older people. Like just the idea, I have 3 daughters that are here. One was 25, 6 and 27. They're all kind of Gen Zs. And they say that their generations, the jobs are for losers generation. Like a job is something you have when you're trying to figure out what you really want to do and have business together. Like not that jobs are bad, just that if you pay attention to influencers and you're raised on tales of entrepreneurship and things like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Elon Musk and all these people who build these amazing businesses, like you don't do that working for something. Do that by taking real skinny 20s. And so I find that young people really want to do that. They just don't know how. They don't teach it in school. In fact, they do the opposite. They cut people out of it. They've taken VOTEC programs for the most part out of school. So they're not teaching people how to do monetizable skills, like how to clean a dryer vent, how to do plumbing, how to do electrical, how to clean houses. Like some of those things sound routine, but you can build multi-million-dollar businesses using some of those techniques and depending on the industry that you're in.
Definitely. And I think that there's so much to learn from that. And I know you have so much knowledge, so we're excited to hear that too.
Yeah.
For you, of course, to know that you have to take risks to get to where you want to be. How did you start your business and what risks did you take that paid off?
Well, the first business I did when I was, in late 20s, early 30s was I was just coming out of the newspaper industry was a virtual tour business and real estate photography business. We did, and it was at a time before digital cameras and cell phones, like back in the late 90s. And it was a great business. It did well. The technology changed overnight. All of a sudden, everybody had digital cameras and realtors stopped hiring people to take pictures. They would take them themselves. And that business became a non-business really quickly. But I was doing some home staging for a client of mine, and they were a franchise system, Show Homes. And they said, hey, you should buy a franchise, and because it relates to what you're doing. You already know realtors, you're in houses, you should do this. Nobody's doing it in your area. And we got into it, and I ran the top 3 franchises in that system. And then the founder had a heart attack and said, hey, you should buy this business. I was like, well, I have $37 in my business account. I don't think that's the way it works. He goes, oh yeah, like, you know what you're doing. Get a partner, find something. And it was easier to do than I realized. I got partners and we bought it and we turned it around and turned it into an amazing, it was the very first big home staging company in the US. And we did 30 or 40,000 homes a year. It was a really cool business. And then I've just kind of stayed involved in franchising. I've helped as a consultant. We've grown over 500 brands for other people, and I've grown my own brands. And for me, franchising is really just a way of life. Like, I really like the franchise model. I like that it's the democratization of entrepreneurship. Like, if you look at franchise ownership in the US, and this is true in other countries too, but particularly the US, we're really diverse and inclusive. Like, if you look at minority groups and minority business ownership, our ownership rates in franchising mirror the U.S. population almost exactly. That there's no disparity. There's no ceiling for men versus women. Like, we don't care. Like, if you have a little resources and drive and you want to own a business, we'll take you. It's kind of like the Army. We just don't care. This is equal opportunity kind of situation. And we're more concerned with who's engaged and who wants to go, and put their foot on the gas. And so I really like that part. It's the opposite of American business culture, a corporate managed IBM style business or venture capital startup kind of culture. This is much more hinging on the skills of the individual owner and taking the small person and turning them into a big person by systems and structure and coaching the hard way. It's a hard business, franchising, because it's a people business, because if you buy a franchise from me and I tell you to do something, you're like, well, if I wanted a boss, I would have gotten a job. So not no, but hell no. So you have to learn how to influence people and be nice to people, which ironically, and treat people well and create things that are in their best interest. So I like that about it. It forces you to run an equitable, ethical business. Not that everybody does that, but we do in this company. We try really hard to add value for people.
I love that. And I think that one perspective that you mentioned that I think a lot of people can take from that is you related it to life. I mean, it mirrors life. It is part of life and running your business in a personal way. So how did you get to this point now where you grew into having multiple locations, and how did you come to that decision?
Well, that's the thing about entrepreneurship. Once you start going, if you keep your foot on the gas and you don't let up and you've learned the skill, this is an important skill for any entrepreneur to learn, is to stop listening to the records in your head. Like, don't worry about failure. Don't worry about being rejected. Don't worry. Like, you've talked to really good entrepreneurs, they'll tell you that they don't play with a safety net. They're not playing to lose. They're playing to win. And so I think about optimistically and enthusiastically about how do we win? How do we make this better? How do we do, and we focus on those outcomes. And I find that even if you don't win on some of those situations, it opens up doors for other things. And it's a mindset that you have to have. And so we try to teach people that. But it is a life business. You treat people the way you want to treat it. These current brands, the Home Run franchise system of the 3 brands we have, Lighting Squad, Up Closets, and the Driver-In Superheroes, are really the kind of culmination of my life's work in franchising, of trying to create systems that are fair and equitable, that are much more franchisee oriented, that are the opposite of what you see today in franchising, a majority private equity owned systems where a franchisee is a number and they're just part of a P&L. And this is, we're ardently a family run business, and we teach people to run family businesses, and we have a family culture, and our culture's kind and generous, and we're not real strict. We try and avoid litigation at all costs and do things right and do things that are in the interest of franchisees and build business cases for things. And we have flat rate royalties. We do a lot of things that most people would say, well, that's stupid. You'd make 3 times the money if you did it the way a private equity company did. But we're building a legacy business that's built to last for a long time. And since I've got 6 kids, I've got 3 or 4 of them working in the business, and my wife and my nephews and my sister, and it's going to be their business at some point. So we're in it for the long haul, but we're also just trying to build a business that we're proud of, that's not just a good business itself, but that the franchise underpinnings are solid, that are a role model for how you can do franchising and scale in the right way.
Right. And I think that's a beautiful thing too, especially that you're going to pass that down to your family and have that for generations to come. So for the people listening as well, like, how do you manage like multiple locations simultaneously like that?
Well, the hardest lesson, and it took me a long time to learn this of any leader in any business, is you have to learn how to fire yourself. It took me probably 20 years or 25 to learn that lesson. Like, I've run agencies and other franchise systems and had partnerships. Um, to fire yourself requires you to build systems and structure in an organization that's focused on outcomes. Like, the outcome in our system is happy franchisees first. Like, our franchisees have to love their businesses. They have to be happy. They have to be treated with respect. They have to enjoy the business that they do, because if you don't enjoy a business, you'll leave. Like, nobody's going to, business hard work. If you don't like it, you won't stick around. So having this outcome culturally in our company that's happy franchisees and that make money, but have to be happy first. Like, you can make a lot of money in a business and hate it. And I've sold businesses that were real profitable because I didn't like the culture of the organization or whatever the issue was. We want happy people, treated with respect, treated like an adult. That's what we tell them. We're going to treat you like an adult. You earned it. You're going to have to make decisions, and you're going to be accountable for your decisions, and we'll help you with our stuff. And you're going to make money as a result. That's what we're here to do. I think that's really important to think like that. So I think having a structure and systems and an organization and a staff where you focus on that and everybody's got some accountability. We have a very flat organization. Our organization isn't, I'm the boss and you do what I say and the next person down. We just don't, we don't do it that way. We're much more focused on, everybody is responsible for their area and we all work together and try to focus on the outcomes. So that's a hard thing to learn, to fire yourself. My COO is a guy named Jeremy Morgan. He calls it, you have to learn how to be strategically lazy, which sounds funny, but it's basically his idea is that you build the systems and structure and you have staff and you build a professional organization that runs when you're not there. That's what we try to teach our franchisees, is at some point you have to get to the point where you're strategically lazy and you have salespeople and operations people and marketing people and technicians, and the business runs. It runs like a machine.
It definitely is. And I'm gonna take notes myself now that today, fire myself today.
Don't let somebody else fire you, but fire yourself. And just basically, I tell people, if we're not really big on job descriptions. Like, people say, I'd like a job description. I don't know what my job is. I was like, well, you don't understand the organization if you're asking that question. Make yourself valuable. Add value, contribute to the overall outcome that we're trying to do. Happy franchisees, profitable franchisees, make things better. Just push hard to always change. If franchising is an extreme business because it's full of extreme people, unlike a startup culture. And it's one of the reasons franchises typically, in my experience, I always get in trouble for saying this. My personal opinion is that franchisees typically outperform non-franchise locations. That's what I've seen in my career. It's what I've seen with businesses I own. Some of the franchising people get all kind of weird about that statement because there's no real data on that, which is true. There's not, but that's been my personal experience. And it makes sense because if you're operating a business where you don't have to work on all the systems, and on day one you have systems that work and have been proven out, you're not going to spend half your time figuring out your website and your marketing and your accounting and your hiring, all that stuff. You can just go to work and work the business.
Right. And I think that's important to point out too. It's when you're talking with people, because you're saying they don't necessarily want to say that the franchisees are going to do better, right? You're building a relationship with them. And I think it's clear to me too that you have a relationship built on with your businesses there too.
We try. You try really hard. You have to put the relationship first. You have to make a point as a franchisor, and you can do this in any business, not just a franchise business, but because we're so people-oriented, it's more critical for us, is that if you don't focus on creating an environment where the relationship can prosper. And a good example is most PE firms, most franchises, in fact, have switched from flat rate royalties to percentage rate royalties, meaning you pay 7% of your gross revenue or whatever it is. And if you're in a brand like Driver Event Wizards, a competitor of ours, they're a neighborly brand. They pay 7% royalties plus another 10% of miscellaneous fees. So they're in 12, 13, 14% of cost of ownership on every dollar they make. We have a flat rate that's $750 or $1,000 a month, depending on how big your territory is. And you can have 10 trucks running in that tour, you're still going to pay the same amount. So in our system, the more you make, the less you pay, and you're kind of rewarded for being good. In the other kind of system, the more you make, the more you pay. And so you get to the point where you can make a lot of money. You're penalized for being good at what you do, and you actually don't need any help. And I've been that way in my own personal franchises I've owned. That's always been a rub with me because I want them just to get out of my way. The support people, like just don't bug me, like, or come to me and ask me what I can do for you. What can you do for us? That kind of thing. Instead of being like, well, you're not in compliance and you're not doing this and you're not doing that. It's a really negative thing. So it ruins the relationship, that type of structure. That's why we're a flat rate system. Is in a flat rate system, everybody's generally happy. There's no like suspicion that people are stealing. We just work hard to make sure that they make as much money as they can and they have a goal. And it improves the relationship. So there's a bunch of things like that in a franchise system you have to intentionally do to create culture. Because if you talk to people about culture, culture will define itself if you don't define it. It'll steamroll right over you. No matter what your intentions are, something bad will come out of it. So you have to work hard on that from the day one.
Yeah, I think that's evident too, that with the structure you set out to, of course, that's the initial conversations you're having with people. You're showing that you're going to maintain that sort of culture that you're looking for. Outside of just the flat rate there too, like how else do you foster and maintain the relationships to create a positive culture?
Here's a really good thing. In a percentage rate system, you make more money if the franchisee makes more money. So there's this intense pressure to always push the franchisees to grow and grow and grow and grow and do more and more and more. And that sounds great because who doesn't want to make more money, right? Well, it turns out a lot of people don't want to make more money. Some people have an idea of the type of business they want to run because Zig Ziglar, the famous sales coach of the U.S., said, people don't buy drills, they buy holes. And what they're really doing with the hole is they're buying a story they want to make with the hole, like whatever the hole is, has a purpose in their life. When you buy a business, you're not buying a business to run the business. You're buying a business to do something else in your life. And to really create a good culture and understanding, you have to understand what that is with each person. And it's different for everybody. You could buy a dryer vent business because you're 60 and you want to run a business for 5 or 10 years. You're just not ready to go play golf or live on the beach and you want to help people and do something fun with your hands. And this is a good way to do it. Or you could be 23 and you want to get to 5 trucks and run a huge business that's in the multi-million-dollar range. Both of those are valid. Like one's not bad because they don't want to run, they want to just have a 1 truck business, and the other's not better because they want to run 5 trucks. They're just different. And so flat rate system allows you to kind of explain to people, tell me what do you want to do? Like, what are we doing here? Like, where do you want to be in 3 years, 5 years? Like, what's your goal? Like, what's the goal? And let's design a business that hits that outcome. My wife runs an up closets in Nashville. And she ran coffee shops and she had 65 employees. We had 3 locations. It was a ridiculously difficult business, hard to make money in. It was very good to us. We made money in it, and it was fun. I like coffee, so I thought it was the best business ever. But she had to run it and she hated it. It was dealing with people calling out and college kids. And, it was just one of those kind of things. The closet business to her is the complete opposite business. She works Monday through Friday. She takes a day off during the week. She has 1 or 2 employees. It's a very light, kind of manageable business. She makes more in that business than she did in the coffee business, and she has more fun. She gets to play with people's dogs. She gets to go to their houses. She gets to do design stuff with closets. It's an intensely fun business for her. And for her, it's the perfect business. But she doesn't want to have 27 designers and 4 install crews. She wants to run this very nice, profitable little business that's manageable, that allows her to have quality of life and some balance. And you just have to listen to people. Like, you have to listen to people. It's not that one of those entrepreneur types is better than the others. If you're going to grow into, hundreds of units, you have to have all of the above and create a situation where it works for those people and listen to them and be okay with it. And so that's where I think we're kind of unique in how we do that, on top of the flat rate, just being okay with the type of business and listening to what they say. And if you came and said, I want to make 6 figures and I want to have a business that does this, we'd help you design that outcome and come up with a business plan and a tracking plan and goal setting and review calls, and day by day we'd help you build it.
I love that. I think that's so important. Listening is, I would say, probably the most underrated tactic tactic or skill, or I would say it's a skill to have in the business.
And running a business is hard and lonely. Like anybody who's run a business will say it's hard and lonely. It's that they're 1/3 of the days you have are just horrific days where things don't go right. And so teaching people how to handle that, we just tell them, well, look, although 1/3 are bad, 2/3 are good. So, just budget for it. It's that rule of thirds idea that if for every bad day you have a couple of really good days kind of coming afterwards. So you just have to get people in the mindset that, things happen in a business. Things don't always go right. Sometimes a problem in a business is an opportunity to make a customer for life and to handle things well, because as much as we don't want things to go bad, if you handle a situation really well and impress a customer, it can have unintended positive consequences for you and your business. So don't be afraid of it. Just let it happen. Try not to do it again. Try to learn from it, as long as you're doing good work. Just things happen. We had a technician here in Nashville in my dryer vent business broke an exhaust fan inside a dryer trying to clean something out, trying to do some extra work for a customer that went further than we normally do. Ended up breaking the dryer. It cost us $350 to repair it, and we just paid for it. We're sorry. We tried. We'll eat the cost. Came out of pocket. She was thrilled. We got both her neighbors and a couple other people in the neighborhood as a result. And just sometimes you just got to do the right thing.
I love that, because I think that everyone's going to come across challenges, whether that's personal, professional, or marry the two together. It's going to happen.
Always.
What would you say with running these businesses has been your biggest challenge that you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome that?
The biggest challenge in the United States right now isn't the business viability or the funding for the business or the business models themselves. It's sometimes people, and it happens with older franchisees, people that are 40s, 50s more often than younger. They're tired. They don't have the energy that you might bring to a job. Sometimes they get into a job and they just don't put their foot on the gas, and they become less engaged, and then they get frustrated because they don't get the results they wanted for no reason other than that they stopped marketing or they didn't do the stuff they should have, or and that's really frustrating to me as a franchisor, because you see the potential. If we replace somebody in a market like that, the new person always doubles the business like overnight. Like, it's not that the business wasn't there, it's that I don't know why somebody would spend the money to buy a business, because some people in my age group have gotten into this thing that running a franchise is like having rental property. It's some kind of absentee thing you do on the side, and it's not that at all. There's no such thing as an absentee service franchise. You really have to put effort into it. And so that's the biggest, is just weeding those people out, making sure we don't award franchises to them. Like, and we try to be really upfront about those things. And you can kind of hear in somebody's voice and their stories if they're passionate about the product. I had a guy who's an engineer in San Diego. I think we're going to end up selling to him for a closet. So if you need a closet, we'll probably be in your market pretty soon. But he's like, I want to keep my job. And I was like, well, this probably isn't the right business for you. It didn't, here's why, and here's what you'd have to do. He goes, well, turns out his wife might want to do the design work. So that's really good. He goes, well, I've got a woodworking shop and I've done my own closets. And he starts talking about his passion for design and woodworking and putting closets together. And he's pretty experienced at it. That might actually be a really good fit for him, because he would enjoy this business on a level that would kind of get him through. And having a spouse kind of gives you a full-time person to work in the business. So it kind of worked. But if you didn't have those things, we would be in trouble.
I might need that. I'm in San Diego, so I might need that. I might need some help from it.
Closets are fun. That's a fun business, the closet business. Like, it's really cool to go into somebody's house and organize the whole wall of closet, and they can literally fit 3 times the stuff in, and they feel glamorous and luxurious.
It's amazing.
Inside their closets, like, people have awful closets, so with wire shelves, with poorly design. It'll sell a house. It's one of the things we like the closet business, because it has the highest ROI of just about any home improvement that you can make, and it's a boom business. The industry's up 23% this year from last year, so we've been growing quite a bit.
That's amazing. On that path to growth as well, how would you say having the knowledge that you have, plus you talked about the 23% growth, right, for the closet side, how would you tell people to continue to scale and grow, who are already starting a business or in the middle of the business and just wanting to get to that point?
Well, I think I'm a painter. I paint paintings kind of as a hobby. And one of the things I learned from an art teacher one time I thought was really cool is he said, look, sometimes you paint a painting and you work on it for a couple of days, and you just hate it. Like it's an awful painting. It doesn't look good. So the trick you have to do is you have to go into the studio in the morning and you have to look at your painting. You have to tell yourself, this is the most amazing painting ever. I love this painting. And you have to say it until you believe it. And then you start working on it. So even if you don't like it, you have to keep saying this painting is going to be great. It's awesome. There's some cool stuff going on this canvas, and you keep working on it. And the momentum of doing the actual work on the painting and that your mindset of telling that it's going to turn out optimistically and enthusiastically in a good way actually changes the painting and turns it into something that's really a work of art, and a business is no different. Like there are days where you have to get up and you have to say, I love this business. This business is awesome. There's a reason I bought this business and there's things I like about it. And you have to go out into the world and talk to people about what you do and do a good job with the work you do and just work on it. It just constantly. And it's a mindset thing. And if you don't do that, you could have a painting you hate, for instance, in your studio, and you'll stop painting because it just, stopped you in your tracks and you can't get past the mental fortitude. You have to have the mental fortitude to overcome those kind of obstacles. And you have to train yourself to think like that. Like it's not a complicated thing to learn, but it's hard to teach people that. Like they just, all they can see is because people operate from fear. Like I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my money. I spent too much. What was I doing? And you start thinking about all these negative ideas, and it's just a mindset. Really good entrepreneurs don't think about those things at all. All they think about is the good stuff they're doing. And how, I have a list of 15 projects I'm working on my wall at all times. And, I pick them down to 2 or 3 that are really important to me, and we work on those. And so you always have to have things going on to kind of keep you motivated. The key in a business, this is also really important. Another lesson I learned is that you have to pay attention to, as an owner, what things create energy for you. Because if you like what you're doing and it's fun, it creates energy and you're excited about it, you can do it all day long. Like it never get tired of doing it. Where people get off track is they end up doing activities and things in a business that suck energy, the complete opposite, stuff that just burns you out, that you hate, that you can't stand, like bookkeeping for me. Like if I had to do my own books, I'd be a miserable wreck. That's just not something I want to spend my time doing. I have a CFO for that. I built an organization where people do that. And so if you pay attention to what produces energy, you'll find that you can work on the business in a much more productive way. And that may mean you just need to hire people with different skills and likes than you have. Like, I don't want a whole company of me, like I would, because I'm a bad employee. I want people that are good employees in my company that will do things and produce good outcomes, and so you just have to be honest with yourself about what your shortcomings are. Again, get to where you can fire yourself as quickly as possible. So
I love that. I think that you hit a few different points there with that too. Like the fear definitely, I think, is a big one for people. I think that's huge. And you gave a good example about the painting example, about how to get through that, as well as,
trick yourself. You literally have to trick yourself. And it works. Try it next time you're stuck on something. Like if you're in a relationship that's not working or you're having problems with somebody at work, you can say, I really like this person. They're amazing. And you'll find that stuff happens in a positive way because you're kind of manifesting it in a positive way. That's really what you're doing. And your brain is this really funny, predictable thing. Like you can make it do things that you wouldn't think it would do by just telling yourself.
Yeah, overall perception's everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what's an example? Like if I were to tell you to look in your room right now and look at everything that has the color brown. And then I ask you, okay, how many items are pink in the background? You're going to be noticing the brown, right? Because you're looking at the color brown there. And then when you try to find the pink, you're not looking for it. So right. I think that's huge. Definitely manifesting it too is huge, and training your brain. Your brain does. I wish I could climb in my brain and know what's going on there at all times.
We're just not as unique. That's something we learned from staging houses. We're just not unique people. We respond to cues and environmental things in very predictable ways. That's kind of why staging works. You go into a builder's house that's beautifully decorated, and that's the house you want, or the model apartment in an apartment complex. We would say people get so excited about the life that they see themselves living that they lick the paint off the wall. They're licking paint. They're so excited. That's a staging term. And that's true in business. You have to create enthusiasm. Enthusiasm and a sense of urgency are both force multipliers in business. The faster a person is, the more enthusiastic. And you're around enthusiastic people. They're fun to work with. and make things happen. They can turn a bad day into a great day. You have to be that person when you're a leader of a business. You can't be Eeyore off of, Winnie the Pooh and be down in the dumps. You have to really think aggressively about it.
Definitely. I'm very lucky to have no ERs at Workies and all very positive and great environment to be in. So
Yeah, you're good.
Definitely relate.
We like Workies. It's been a really good partner for us, for sure.
Oh, that makes me happy to hear too. And I'm so happy that you've been on here today too.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you because you're talking about like recharging and like your energy and you need to do things that energize you. Outside of work, like what energizes you? Like what's your hobbies that you like to do or your favorite downtime activity?
Well, I like business, and so this for me is kind of like what I like to do. And I've been lucky enough in my whole professional career and everything I've done to have done things that I think that I like. When they weren't fun, I stopped doing them and did something else. But I do paint. I think it's important to have. And I'm married. I'm a father. I have 6 kids. I have 4 French bulldogs. We have a pretty busy kind of house going on. We like to go to the beach. We like to go to the Florida Panhandle. I like music. I live in Nashville. I got a big guitar collection. I got to do things creatively. I'm a creative person to start with. I think that this comes from my background. But even if you're not a creative person, I think here's a good example. Sometimes in a busy week, if I have a block where I don't have call scheduled for 2 or 3 hours, I'll just leave the office and go do something fun. Like go have a beer, go have a coffee, hang out at a coffee shop, go shop. My wife loves to go to Nordstrom Rack. That's her favorite place to go shop. So we end up going there.
I love Nordstrom Rack.
So, I have a shoe fetish. I'm sorry to admit, I have way too many shoes. And we have a closet company, so I have amazing shoe storage. All from work from Rack. But sometimes you just have to give your permission to not be so rigid all the time. Like the reason I have a business is I designed a life that I wanted to live. So I'll take like my daughters that work with me. We're all coffee fans. And if we're kind of slow in the middle of the day, I say, we're going to get coffee and we'll go to some kind of cool hipster coffee shop and hang out for an hour or two and just goof off. And I'll say like what we're doing right now at this moment, we designed the outcome so that we could do exactly this. Like we have a business so we can enjoy this when everybody else is in their cubicle writing reports for their boss. We're hanging out at a coffee shop, goofing off. Like that's the joy of owning a business. Allows you to do small things like that and big things like buy houses and cars and vacation homes and go out. And my daughter runs a dryer vent cleaning business in New Orleans, and she and her fiance go to Italy, like in Europe, once or twice a year. They make enough money in their business. They save up, they go on a week or 2 trip and they come back and work more. And they're in their 20s and that's what they do. I wish they would run it like a little more professionally sometimes and they could make twice as much money, but they have bought a house, they have cars, they go on trips, they're in their 20s, they don't want for money, like pretty good setup, that you have. So they're independent already in their 20s. So I love that for people.
And it's beautiful, right? Because you want to be able to have that time with your family, with your dogs. I'm going to need pictures of those later.
Oh, yeah. They're a mess. It's like a pig farm in there. With a lot of they're fun dogs.
Beautiful mess, though. That's how I look at it. But yeah, I think that's a great perspective to have, though. Just not only knowing your goals for your business of having 3 to 5 years, but what is that business going to give you and what life does that give you?
Yeah. But design it. Like if you don't design it, it'll happen to you. So start out with the goal. Like I'm going to design a business that allows me to do the things we do. We wanted to live in Nashville. We live in Franklin. We have a nice house. We have a cool neighborhood. We have the cars we wanted to have. I get to do art when I want to do art. We get to go have as much coffee as we want. We get to do the things in life we wanted to do. We work really hard, much harder than probably an employee would in a company. But we also play hard and have a good time, and we cook a lot. And, we have a life that we designed. We literally designed the whole life top to bottom, and it worked, and it can work for other people. That's the beauty of owning a business, in particular, the beauty of owning a franchise opportunity. I think it allows you to do that with some structure and help and support. Just being around other people who are trying to do the same thing. It's like the social network version of a business, a franchise system. It's just a people business. It's like a team sport. We're all wearing the same jersey.
I love that. I think that's a great way to end off our time here today, too, is design your life and be on the same team and be a people person, too.
Yeah, there you go. Works at me. Caitlin,
Of course. Thank you so much for being on here. So excited we got to chat with you, and I'm sure we'll be having you on in the future, too.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the Workies podcast. We hope today's episode has provided valuable insights and inspiration to propel your business forward. Remember to subscribe to our podcast for more engaging discussions and expert advice on navigating the dynamic landscape of the field service industry. I hope you got to unplug a little with us. Until next time, keep innovating, growing, and delivering exceptional service. We'll see you in the next episode of Workies Unplugged.